happens when loyalty meets temptation and a life-changing decision hangs in the balance. Meet Sarah Martinez, a single mother working tirelessly at TechVision Enterprises, dreaming of a better life for herself and her baby. But when a rival company offers her the opportunity of a lifetime, she's faced with a choice that could change everything. Little does she know, the CEO of her own company has been watching her every move, testing her values and integrity. Will Sarah stick to the company that gave her a chance? Or will she fall for the allure of quick financial security? The answer will not only shape her future, but also the future of the company. Stay tuned to see what happens next. James Jin hadn't worn jeans to work in 15 years. As CEO of TechVision Enterprises, his wardrobe consisted exclusively of tailored suits that cost more than what his entry-level employees made in a month. But today, sporting faded Levi's and a worn navy hoodie, he looked like any other temp worker starting their first day at the company's customer service center. The disguise was part of his annual Undercover Boss initiative, something he'd started doing 5 years ago to stay connected with the frontline workers of his rapidly growing tech company. Usually these undercover stints revealed the expected issues: outdated equipment, inefficient processes, or the occasional middle manager on a power trip. But nothing could have prepared him for what he discovered on a cold Tuesday morning in October. He'd arrived early, to maintain his cover as an eager new hire. The parking lot was mostly empty, save for a few cars belonging to the overnight shift. As he walked toward the building, movement in his peripheral vision caught his attention. In the far corner of the lot, partially hidden behind a large recycling bin, was a silver Honda Civic with slightly foggy windows. James might have walked past it without a second thought, but a soft cry, unmistakably that of an infant, stopped him in his track. He watched as a figure in the driver's seat stirred, and the interior light flickered on. Through the condensation-covered windows, he could make out a young woman, probably in her late 20s, gently rocking a baby against her shoulder. His first instinct was to call security, but something made him hesitate. The woman wasn't just some vagrant who had wandered onto company property. He recognized her from the employee database he'd studied before starting his undercover assignment. Sarah Martinez, one of their customer service representatives, who'd started about 8 months ago. As he watched, Sarah efficiently changed the baby's diaper, heated a bottle using what looked like a portable warmer, and transformed the cramped back seat into a makeshift nursery. Her movements were practiced, suggesting this wasn't a one-time emergency situation but a daily routine. The baby's cries subsided, and Sarah emerged from the car carrying a diaper bag, a professional-looking briefcase, and the now peaceful infant in a car seat. She walked briskly toward the building's side entrance, where James knew there was a small daycare center for employees, one of the benefits he'd proudly implemented years ago. Following at a discreet distance, he watched as she dropped off her baby, kissing the infant's forehead before handing them over to the daycare worker. There wasn't a hint of their difficult circumstances in her demeanor. She was all warm smiles and professional confidence. In the break room, James observed as Sarah transformed herself from a struggling single mother into what appeared to be a model employee. She applied makeup using the bathroom mirror, smoothed her slightly wrinkled but clean uniform shirt, and pulled her hair into a neat bun. By the time she sat down at her workstation, no one would have guessed she'd spent the night sleeping in her car. Over the next few days, James, under his alias of Jim Carter, managed to secure the desk next to Sarah's during training. He learned that she was consistently the first to arrive and among the last to leave. Her customer satisfaction scores were among the highest in the department, and she never missed a shift, even picking up extra hours when others called in sick. What struck him most wasn't just her work ethic, but her attitude. Where other employees grumbled about difficult customers or technical glitches, Sarah maintained an unwavering positivity. She spent her lunch break studying company materials and helping new hires navigate the complex customer service software. When a particularly aggressive customer reduced a coworker to tears, it was Sarah who stepped in, somehow managing to turn the situation around while maintaining her professional composure. One evening, as they were both working late, James purposely sparked a conversation about career goals. Sarah's eyes lit up as she spoke about her dreams of moving into the company's technical support division. She was teaching herself coding in the public library during her breaks, using their free Wi-Fi to take online courses. I know it's a long shot, she admitted, her fingers nervously twisting a pen. But Tech Vision gave me a chance when nobody else would. Single mom, no college degree. Most places wouldn't even interview me. But here they looked at my potential, not my circumstance. That means something, you know. James felt a knot form in his stomach. Here was someone who showed exactly the kind of loyalty and initiative he always preached about in board meetings, yet she was sleeping in her car with an infant. The irony wasn't lost on him. His company's mission, concurrent modification exception statement, proudly displayed in the lobby, proclaimed empowering dreams, transforming lives. That night, instead of returning to his luxury penthouse, James parked his rental car across from Sarah's Honda. He watched as she went through her evening routine, changing the baby, setting up a small battery-powered fan for ventilation, carefully covering the windows with sunshades for privacy. The efficiency of her actions made it clear this wasn't a temporary situation. This was her life. As he sat there in the growing darkness, an idea began to take shape in his mind. But first, he needed to be sure that Sarah's loyalty wasn't just a survival strategy, that her positive attitude wasn't just a well-maintained facade. He needed to know if she truly believed in the company that had thus far failed to notice her desperate situation. Pulling out his phone, he made a call to his executive assistant, careful to keep his voice low. "Janet, I need you to set something up for me, and this needs to stay completely confidential." The plan he was forming would either reveal Sarah's true character or give her the escape route she so desperately needed. Either way, James was about to orchestrate a test that would change both their lives forever. 3 days after James made his late-night phone call, a sleek black Tesla pulled into Tech Vision's parking lot during lunch hour. From it emerged Regina Walsh, supposedly a senior recruiter from rival tech company Innovate Corp, wearing the kind of power suit that screamed success and authority. In reality, she was James's executive assistant of 8 years, carefully briefed for this delicate mission. Sarah was just returning from the daycare center, having spent her lunch break feeding her 6-month-old daughter, Emma, when Regina intercepted her near the break room. The contrast between them was stark, Regina in her pristine Armani suit and Sarah in her modest company uniform. A few baby food stains still visible despite her best efforts to clean them. "Sarah Martinez," Regina's voice carried the precise mix of warmth and professional authority. "Do you have a moment? I have a proposition that might interest you." The small conference room felt intimate and intimidating at the same time. Regina didn't waste time on small talk. She placed a leather portfolio on the table and began laying out documents with practiced precision. "Innovate Corp has been watching your customer service metrics for some time," she explained, her manicured fingers sliding a glossy folder across the table. "Your handling of difficult customers, your consistent performance ratings, your ability to de-escalate tensions. These are rare qualities in customer service representatives." Sarah's hands trembled slightly as she opened the folder. Inside was an employment contract that made her eyes widen. $75,000 annual salary, double what she currently made, comprehensive health benefits that would cover all of Emma's pediatric needs, and most incredibly, a housing assistance program that included 3 months of paid rent up front in a corporate apartment complex. There must be some mistake," Sarah whispered, staring at the numbers that could change her life. The amount of the signing bonus alone could buy her a reliable used car. "I don't have a degree in my experience. We value talent over paper credentials," Regina interjected smoothly. She pulled out another document, a performance analysis. "Your customer satisfaction scores are 40% above the industry average. You've resolved 95% of escalated complaints successfully on the first attempt. These numbers speak louder than any degree." Sarah's mind raced. With this money, she could afford a 2-bedroom apartment. Emma could have her own room with real walls and a ceiling, not the cramped backseat of their Honda. She could buy proper baby furniture, not just the essential items she'd managed to squeeze into their car. Then Regina dropped the bomb. "But there is one condition." She leaned forward, her expression serious. "We need someone to start immediately. If you accept, you need to resign from Tech Vision today and begin with us tomorrow morning." Sarah's heart pounded. "Tomorrow? But that's so sudden. I haven't given notice." "It's a sensitive position," Regina explained, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "We're launching a new customer service platform, and we need someone with fresh insight from our competitors' systems. The position won't be available if you wait." She paused meaningfully. Of course, this conversation never happened. corporate espionage laws being what they are, the implication hung heavy in the air. This wasn't just a job offer. It was an invitation to share insider knowledge about TechVision's system. The money would solve all her immediate problems, but the ethical implications made her stomach churn. From his hidden position in the adjacent room, watching through one-way glass, James held his breath. This was the moment of truth. Would Sarah's loyalty hold against the promise of immediate financial security? Sarah stared at the contract, her fingers tracing the salary figure that could lift her and Emma out of their car and into a real home. But something felt wrong. The secrecy, the pressure for an immediate decision, the subtle suggestion about sharing company information. It reminded her of Emma's father, who had made grand promises that dissolved into manipulation and control. The daycare here, Sarah said suddenly, thinking of the kind-faced woman who always had an extra smile for Emma. Would your facility accept infants under 12 months? Regina's flawless smile faltered for a heartbeat. Childcare. That wasn't in her playbook. We have outstanding child care partners we can recommend, she said, her voice gliding back to polished confidence. Sarah gave a slow nod, but her eyes clouded with doubt. Her mind wandered to Jenkins at the daycare, who'd quietly slip her extra diapers with a sly grin, muttering they were past their prime. To her supervisor, who never batted an eye at her constant requests for extra shit. To Jim, the new guy, who'd save her a steaming cup of coffee every morning without fail. Why did those tiny acts of kindness feel like lifelines now? She gathered the sleek contract papers, her fingers brushing the crisp edges, and handed them back to Regina. Thank you for thinking of me, but I have to pass. Regina blinked, stunned. Maybe take a day to mull it over, she urged, leaning forward. No, Sarah said, her voice soft but steady as steel. This offer is generous, but I can't betray TechVision. They gave me a shot when I was drowning. Even if I'm just a number to them, they're my anchor, not just a paycheck. Regina tried one last plea, but Sarah was already on her feet. I've got to get back, my break's over, and customers are waiting, she declared, a spark in her James, hidden in the observation room, watched her stride out, shoulders squared, chin high, like she was gearing up to tame a raging caller. How did she summon that strength? He snatched his phone and texted, "Move to phase 2. Sarah had no clue the real test was just beginning. The next 24 hours would strip her principles bare, and James had crafted a crucible to see if her loyalty was ironclad, or just a mask for fear. That evening, the parking lot felt like a prison, as Sarah settled Emma into their cramped backseat bedroom in the Honda. The familiar space closed in, tighter than ever. Innovate Corp's offer blazed in her mind, $75,000 a year, 3 months of paid rent, health coverage for Emma's shots. It was a dream too perfect to trust. Through the fogged-up windows, she watched coworkers climb into their cars, driving off to warm homes with real walls. Her life felt like a cruel shadow of theirs. Emma stirred, her tiny fist clutching a frayed blanket, the last keepsake from their old apartment, before the eviction shattered everything. What am I doing, sweet girl? Sarah whispered, tracing Emma's soft cheek. Am I letting you down? The contract's numbers haunted her, a signing bonus to replace their wheezing car, benefits to secure Emma's health. It was everything she'd begged the universe for. She opened her banking app, $47.81 glared back. A week until her next paycheck, already half claimed by diapers and formula. The car's thermometer read 45. Winter was closing in. How long could they keep living like this? Regina's veiled hints about TechVision's systems gnawed at her. They didn't just want her skills. They wanted her to spill company secrets. Sarah's access wasn't top tier, but she knew the software's quirks, enough to tip the scales for a rival. A memory flashed. Her first week at TechVision, bearing her soul in the interview. Single mom, no degree, a baby, and the HR manager hadn't blinked, hadn't probed about Emma's dad or their struggles. They saw her fire, her drive to build a better life. That trust had been her lifeline. The night turned icy, and Sarah tucked another blanket around Emma. She grabbed her laptop, bought with her first paycheck, and hooked into the building's Wi-Fi, faint but reachable. Opening a blank document, she poured out her thoughts, listing pros: a real home for Emma, financial breathing room; cons: betraying TechVision, risking a job that might vanish, losing the daycare team who cherished Emma. A chat popped up from Jim. Hey, you left your training manual, tucked it in your drawer. Catch you tomorrow. Tears stung her eyes. Such a small gesture, but it hit hard. At TechVision, she wasn't just employee 24. She was Sarah, Emma's fierce mom, the one who whipped up salsa in the break room microwave for team lunches,
who stayed late to guide coworkers through software updates. Lightning slashed the sky, thunder growling as Emma whimpered. Sarah pulled her close, the storm outside echoing her heart's chaos. But something was shifting. The choice that felt like a maze hours ago was coming into focus. She opened her email, fingers trembling over the keys before typing. Dear Miss Walsh, thank you for Innovate Corp's generous offer. After careful consideration, I must respectfully decline. The words spilled out, driven by a certainty that shocked her. As she hit send, lightning flared, and her reflection in the rearview mirror caught her off guard. Despite the hardship, the uncertainty, the temptation she'd just rejected, she was smiling. How could she feel this strong? Emma stirred, and Sarah began their nightly tale. Once upon a time, she whispered, there was a princess who didn't have a castle, but she had something brighter than jewels. She had integrity. Across town, James Chen's phone buzzed in his sleek penthouse office. Regina's message, she declined. Final phase tomorrow. He grinned, snapping his laptop shut. Sarah had aced a test she didn't know she was taking. Tomorrow would turn her world upside down. Not with punishment, but with possibility. The next morning, Sarah's stomach dropped when she saw the email. Report to Executive Suite. Had someone noticed her car in the lot? Did her rejection of Innovate Corp reach management? The elevator to the 15th floor felt like a ride to doom. She'd never seen the executive-level glass walls, chrome gleam, city views, screaming power. Regina greeted her, but her badge now screamed Tech Vision, not Innovate Corp. What was going on? Regina led her to a sprawling conference room, where one man sat at a polished table. Miss Martinez, please sit, he said, standing. Sarah froze. James Chen, Tech Vision's CEO. His portrait a fixture in the lobby. But those eyes, Jim, she gasped, spotting her coworker beneath the crisp suit. You're James Chen, he said, a warm smile softening his CEO aura. Though I've loved being just Jim these past weeks. Sarah sank into the chair, her legs wobbling. It clicked. The shady job offer, the tight deadline, the system probes, a setup. I'm sorry for the deception, James said, sliding closer. But I had to know if Tech Vision lives up to its value. You've shown me the truth with stunning clarity. He pushed a folder across the table, Tech Vision's logo shining. Before you open this, hear what I saw undercover. An employee who showed up early every day, despite sleeping in her car, who radiated professionalism while raising a baby in brutal conditions, who chose loyalty over a life-altering payout when she needed it most. Sarah's hands shook as she opened the folder. The title stole her breath. Director of Customer Experience Innovation. This isn't charity, James said, catching her shock. It's recognition of your talent, your heart, your integrity. The salary, he nodded at the page, is triple your current pay with stock options. She found the number, higher than Innovate Corp's offer. A handwritten note at the bottom read, for showing us what Tech Vision's values truly mean. Tears welled, but James wasn't finished. He hit a button, and a facilities manager walked in with keys. Your new office is on this floor, and there's an executive suite at Tech Vision Towers across the street. You and Emma can move in today. Sarah's voice broke through. Why the test? Why not help when you saw my struggle? James leaned in, his gaze earnest. Because Tech Vision needs leaders who hold tight to integrity when no one's watching, who choose right over easy, who see beyond their own pain to the bigger picture. We need you, Sarah. The truth crashed over her. No more car nights. No more sink baths. No more choosing between groceries and diapers. But bigger than that, a chance to shape the company, to lift others like her. There's a catch, James added, eyes twinkling. Actually, first I need you to build a program to find and support employees in crisis. Second, you start now. We have a board meeting in an hour, and I want you to pitch your vision for our customer experience systems. Sarah's heart pounded, but she nodded, a fire sparking inside. Could she do this? For Emma, for herself, for every unseen worker, she'd give it everything. Sarah squared her shoulders, the same steely posture she'd perfected for those grueling customer calls. But this time, her heart wasn't bracing for a fight. It was soaring toward a chance she'd never dared imagine. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Chen, she said, her voice steady despite the frayed uniform and the exhaustion shadowing her eyes. I won't let you down, James, he corrected, his smile warm enough to melt the corporate chill. And Sarah, you never have, not once. Stepping into the executive suite at Tech Vision Towers felt like crossing into a fairy tale. Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, Emma nestled in her arms, both of them wide-eyed at the impossible turn their lives had taken in mere hours. Could this really be there? The movers James had summoned worked swiftly, the though her belongings were pitifully few. 2 worn suitcases, stuffed with clothes, Emma's baby essentials, and a small box of cherished photos. Snapshots of a life that now felt like another world. The stark contrast hit her like a tidal wave when she opened the master bedroom closet. It was pre-stocked with sleek blazers, tailored dresses, and crisp blouses, all in her size, each piece screaming her new role as an executive. Who had thought of this? The nursery's ready, Miss Martina, called an interior decorator James had hired. Sarah followed the voice, her breath catching as she entered a room that seemed spun from dreams. Soft mint green walls, a high-tech crib gleaming with safety features, a plush rocking chair begging for late-night cuddles, and shelves bursting with colorful books and toys. Above the changing table, a custom mobile twinkled with tiny silver stars and moons, a quiet nod to the countless nights she and Emma had gazed at the sky through the Honda's fogged windows. Was this really happening? James hadn't just handed her a new life. He'd anticipated every detail. Within hours, Sarah was reeling from the whirlwind of support flooding her way. A financial advisor sat her down, explaining stock options and guiding her through setting up investment accounts. A corporate concierge swooped in, arranging grocery deliveries and booking Emma's overdue pediatrician visits. The building's elite daycare, notorious for its 6-month waitlist, had a spot miraculously open for Emma the very next day. How was this possible? By evening, Sarah sat in her new living room, the city skyline glowing gold as the sun dipped low. Emma giggled on a vibrant activity mat, surrounded by more toys than she'd ever owned. A ping on Sarah's new company phone jolted her. Her first executive team meeting was set for 9 hours. She opened her sleek new laptop, another gift from James, and dove into the materials he'd sent. Her role as Director of Customer Experience Innovation wasn't just a fancy title. It carried real. She'd lead a team of 50, with the power to reshape systems for thousands of customers and employees. Could she handle this? A knock at the door broke her thoughts. Regina stood there, no longer the fake recruiter but Sarah's new executive mentor, holding a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. First days as an exec can be a lot, she said with a grin. Thought you could use this. Over wine, Regina prepped her for what lay ahead. James doesn't do half measures, she said, swirling her glass. When he backs someone, he moves heaven and earth. But he expects you to deliver. Big time. Sarah nodded, her mind already buzzing with ideas. The customer service team needs tighter integration with tech support, and our training could be more flexible for parents with odd hours, she blurted, her passion spilling out. Regina's smile widened. Was this the same fire James had seen? You're already thinking like a leader, she said, then slid another folder across the table. Sarah laughed. Did Tech Vision run on life-altering folders? Inside was a proposal for the Second Chance program. James wants you to lead this, Regina said. It's a lifeline for employees in crisis, housing aid, emergency childcare, financial counseling. Your story makes you the perfect fit. Sarah's eyes stung as the program was built for people like she'd been, talented, but buried under hardship. It offered partnerships with shelters, childcare providers, and banks to create a safety net. The budget's greenlit, Regina added. You can start rolling it out whenever you're ready. Sarah's heart swelled. Could she really change lives like hers had been changed? That night, with Emma asleep in her new crib, watched by a high-tech baby monitor, Sarah stood at her floor-to-ceiling window. The parking lot below, where they'd lived behind that recycling bin, was just a dark speck now. She pressed her hand to the warm glass, the cozy apartment a stark contrast to the biting cold outside. Tomorrow she'd dive into her new role, face daunting challenges, and start building something lasting. But tonight she let gratitude wash over her, not just for the apartment, the clothes, the toys, but for standing firm when temptation clawed at her. Her loyalty hadn't just paid off. It had sparked a chance to lift others up. How had she gotten so lucky? 5 years later, Sarah Martinez stood before Tech Vision's shareholders, her voice steady as she shared the Second Chance program's triumph. The screen behind her flashed numbers that drew proud nods from the room, James Chen included. Over the past 5 years, she declared, her executive polish shining, we've lifted over 300 employees from crisis to stable career. Our retention rate for participants is 94%, and 68% have earned promotions within. The stories she shared hit harder. A single dad once homeless, now heading IT security. A domestic violence survivor turned regional sales director. A veteran with PTSD thriving in global client relations. She didn't mention her personal touch meeting every participant, sharing her story to spark hope, or how she'd transformed that old parking lot into a transitional housing hub with childcare and career resources, or the mentorship network she built, pairing struggling workers with execs to guide them. Why boast when the results spoke louder? After the presentation, James approached, his smile wide. Remember when you hid your struggles from everyone? He teased softly. Sarah laughed, adjusting her vice president badge. I still walk by my old parking spot sometimes, just to remember how far we've come. Mom, 6-year-old Emma's voice rang out, her school uniform adorably rumpled from first-grade chaos. Marcus, Sarah's husband of 2 years, trailed behind, his legal counsel badge glinting. He'd fallen for both mother and daughter, building a family she'd never dared dream of. Ready for your surprise? James asked Emma, who bounced with excitement. They rode the elevator to the building's new top floor, and when the doors opened, Sarah gasped. A sprawling space unfolded. Emergency housing units, a 24-hour childcare center, and a resource hub. Welcome to the Martinez Center for Employee Empowerment, James announced, unveiling a gleaming plaque. Sarah's hand flew to her mouth. Was this real? This isn't just about crisis support, James said. It's about redefining corporate responsibility. And it started because one woman chose integrity over a quick fix. The center was a blueprint for other companies, blending immediate aid with long-term growth. Sarah's Pay It Forward program was its heart. Every person helped would mentor another in need. That evening, tucking Emma into bed in their penthouse, her daughter begged, "Tell the car story, Mom." Sarah grinned, settling in for their cherished ritual. Once upon a time, a mommy and her baby lived in a car with nothing but dreams. They felt alone, but their journey was just beginning. Emma giggled, knowing the tale by heart. And the company king was the nice coffee guy. Exactly. Sarah laughed. But the real magic was in holding tight to what mattered, even when the easy path glittered. After Emma dozed off, Sarah stood at her window, the city sparkling below. On her desk sat a new folder, not like the ones from 5 years ago. This one held her nomination for CEO. James was retiring, and he'd named her as his pick. Her phone buzzed, a text from the Martinez Center's evening supervisor. New family just arrived. Mom and 2 kids. Could use your smile if you're free. Sarah was already grabbing her coat, her heart racing. As she headed for the elevator, her reflection in the chrome doors stopped her. Gone was the desperate mom from that parking lot. But the core remained, someone who knew success wasn't just climbing high, it was pulling others up with you. Stepping into the center, bearing her name, Sarah smiled at the plaque's inscription. Because everyone deserves a second chance to shine. The tale of the undercover CEO and the steadfast employee was now Tech Vision legend. But for Sarah, it was more than a story. It was proof that life's toughest tests hide in impossible choices, and the greatest rewards come not from what you grab, but what you hold fast. Your integrity. Had she ever imagined this future? Never. But she'd fight to make it real for others, one second chance at a time.